So people weren't really a fan of the Facebook page. So this is the story of the history of Kerwin Heights. Kerwin Heights is a small mill town with three main levels. The bottom level is the mill and the old train line. The middle level is the rows of houses. And there's a couple streets and rows. And the top level is the top plateau, which was the old airport, Mayer Airport, founded in 1919, and was a dirt run strip, a diagonal strip across the plateau on the top of the hill, which is a perfect place for landing and flying planes, from about 1919 up until the 1950s, when the top of the hill all became Great Southern Shopping Center, the shopping center. And it's still a big flat plateau, so it'd still be perfect for a shopping mall or the old historic Mayer Airport or Mayer Airfield. And the rest of the hillside was farmed down over the back of the hillside. So that's the history of it. And Mayer Street was also the mill down below. Mr. Mayer was the one that got the grants from the federal government in the early 1900s to build the mill, the train lines, which were already going from Bridgeville to Carnegie. Rail and train and coal was big in the early 1900s. So Mr. Mayer had the mill, then all the houses were built in the early 1900s and 1920s and 30s for the workers at the mill. And Mr. Mayer also had the airfield up above until about the 1950s. So that's the history of Kerwin Heights. And the name of Kerwin Heights, I talk about Mr. C.P. Mayer or Casper P. Mayer. He was kind of the founding father of the old train line and the mill, as well as Mayer Airfield above, and that's why all the houses were built. The name actually comes from the families that lived here in the middle layer of Kerwin Heights, the heights above the mill and the heights right on Washington Pike and Mayer Airfield and the old farm where Bob Evans was. So the name comes from the Kerrs and the Winstein families, and you have the Kerrs family and the Winstein family, and there's a Winstein Street on the other part of Kerwin Heights, and just like there's a Mayer Street that runs down through this part of Kerwin Heights by the old train line. Legend has it you could see Mayer's ghost down there at night during a full moon at the old train line at the old crossroads on Mayer Street. But that's just a local legend, lore, ghost story. But the actual history of the name comes from the Kerrs and the Winstein families, some of the earliest families to build the houses and settle in Kerwin Heights along Washington Pike above the mill. So Kerrs, Win, Heights, that's where the name comes from. And the name, the spelling of the name is cursed because throughout the years, throughout the 70s, 80s, and up to the 2000s, it was spelled Kerr, Kerwin, Kerwin Heights. But the spelling changed to A's and E's over the years, and that's why they say. But the original name comes from the Kerrs and Winstein family, hence the name Kerrs Win Heights, and was helped developed in the early 1900s. 1903 is when the mill and train line was started to be built, and the airfield above was built in 1919 by Mr. Casper P. Mayer, and they say you could still see his ghost down there at the old train line. So that's a mouthful there, but in under 4 minutes, that's the history of Kerwin Heights. And my family from my grandma's side, my cousins and second and third cousins through the generations, Grandma Rose, Grandma Maple, Grandma Lala, Grandma Audrey, and Grandma Maple, Grandma Rose, we would all have been cousins here in Kerwin Heights. And Lala's parents, Horriman, was related to the Winstein family, some of the early, the namesake of Kerwin Heights. So we're kind of all cousins here if you go back far enough. So that's why they said, we're all fucking cousins here, man, down in Kerwin Heights, baby. And there's some songs and shit. All right, go listen to the music. We'll be making more songs and music every day. Come down here and see us in 2026 live Kerwin Heights Live Music Festival Evolution Block Party 2026 down home here at Johnny's old house, man. Right down home here in Kerwin Heights. This is Johnny Nighthawk, the ghost of Kerwin Heights, signing off with the history of Kerwin Heights. And if you have any questions about the history of Kerwin Heights, you can reach out to President Mark, Mr. Lewis. His family has been here and has served the Kerwin Heights Fire Department and community for him and his father for over 50 plus years. And my grandma always said, thank them for their service because him and his father did a lot of work for the fire department and the community here over the last 100 years, the last century. And he knows more about the Historical Society, if not as much as me. He has stories and legends and knows all about the history. So you can reach out to him or me. And him and his wife, they run the Collier Township Historical Society, which Kerwin Heights is part of. And I run the Kerwin Heights Historical Society. There's a Facebook page, and then there's also a Bridgeville Historical Society. But I try to focus on, I'm from here, my family's from here. My great-great-grandmas and cousins were from the Winstein and Kurz family, the namesake of Kerwin Heights. So that's why it took an interest of me to tell the story. And this is the history of Kerwin Heights, man. In a nutshell, Casper P. Mayer, Mr. Mayer, was the founding father, developed the places. The second layer of the houses were built above the old train line for the workers, and that was the Kurz and Winstein families, why it was named Kerwin Heights. And then above was the old airfield that became Great Southern Shopping Center. That's my family, that's my name, that's where I come from, that's where my grandma comes from, and she'd be proud of me. And I'm sure Mr. Lewis would be proud of me too for telling the story and the history of Kerwin Heights. So Johnny 1 signing off, the ghost of Kerwin Heights with the Kerwin Heights Historical Society.